Oh 07, everyone. This is Axis0096. I hope everyone is doing great today. And I'm going to do some updates for the week of Star Citizen. This weekend, Star Citizen for, what do you call it? 3 May 3rd, 2024. And we're going to go from there. So I hope everyone's ready and excited. Hopefully. Yeah. So here we go. We're going to start with ISC from yesterday. We're going to work our way through that. And we're going to probably end up doing some PTU stuff after I get done with this, the Invictus trailer, all the way to SCL, and then probably maybe an hour or two of Star City, the PTU, EPTU. So here we go. Let's listen to Jared for a bit. I'll be stopping and talking when I can.
3 is just around the corner, and that means it's time for Patch Dispatch 323, where we run down all the new features and content included in what could be Star Citizen's biggest patch yet. So let's just jump right into things. And we'll start with life in the first person. And in 323, life begins with a newly expanded and revamped character customizer, letting you create more dynamic and representative avatars than ever before. A new beginning that will continue to evolve with additional features and options in subsequent patches. Now let's discuss all the major improvements that directly affect your character, starting with the new Mobi-Glass. Now, unlike Eobard Thawne, we've finally killed the Flash, as the new Mobi-Glass finally makes its in-universe debut with a revamped layout and new features like the Health and Contract Manager apps to help you stay alive and find work respectively. It also includes the long-awaited and hotly anticipated new Maps app, combining the new Star Map and Interior Map experiences into one unified interface, with an entire host of new functionalities designed to help you find your way through landing zones, space stations, and the entire verse as a whole. Oh, and that work also touches the new lens and visor updates with a great new mini-map that appears now in the upper left corner. Your days of not finding your way around are soon behind you. Unless you're a specific person who won't be named. You know who you are. Of course, when you're traveling through the verse, Alpha 323 has a whole new array of improvements to how you'll interact with the world around you, starting with a revamped player interaction system that's more nimble and customizable than ever before. Default item actions that let you keep your customizations exactly how you want them. A new shopping interface that streamlines the experience so you can get what you want.
I do have a question. Has anyone in chat spent any significant amount of time in the EPTU yet? Please give me a comment in the chat. Thank you.
Go. And new looting screens to improve your alternate and more violent shopping experience. And speaking of which, there's lots of new improvements to the way you bring first-person murder, death, kill to your fellow citizens in the verse, including scope magnification updates, ammo repooling and backpack reloading, ADS tuning, and the new dynamic crosshair on specialized helmets so you can fire straight from the hip in-game, and not just from the comfort of your YouTube comments. And your first-person life doesn't end there, because Alpha 323 allows you to take the fight to zero G with the newly revamped EVA mechanics, changing the way you traverse the verse outside your spacecraft and vehicle. And speaking of your spacecraft or vehicles, the Alpha 323 season also includes new ways to house, load, and launch your ships with the new personal persistent hangars coming to ArcCorp, Hurston, Microtech, and Orizen in a 323X patch this quarter, which also includes item banks to grab your stuff, vehicle platforms to raise your ships, and freight elevators to load them before takeoff. Of course, once you take off, you'll find a new way to fly with master modes and a new way to fight with precision targeting and weapon mount and gimbal changes, meaning space combat's got its next evolution in Alpha 323. But what if flying in the PU isn't enough? Or you simply want a safe place to practice the changes? Well, there's a whole host of new maps and experimental modes in Arena Commander 323 that we covered here in detail just last week. Then back in the Persistent Universe and down planet side, you'll find the new distribution centers with a variety of mission and gameplay opportunities for all manner of playstyles, and the added dangers of the American Copian, Star Citizen's first fauna being added to Alpha 323. And how are the Merrics dangerous? Just wait until they add poop mechanics. Then there's also exciting new technological improvements like our initial implementation of Vulkan, new DLSS, FSR, TSR upscaling, and the new water rendering and simulation tech that will make Star Citizen look even better than ever before. And then under the hood,
I will say this, the water looks phenomenal.
with the new replication layer split in 323, players no longer connect directly to the game servers and instead to the hybrid service, which hosts the replication layer, which then itself maintains the state of the game. This now means that the loss of a server can be recovered from without the players being disconnected from the game or losing their progress, and sets the stage for multiple game servers sharing a single hybrid replication layer in the server mesh coming online with Alpha 4.0. So all in all, there's more things in Alpha 323 than you can shake a stick at, but there's actually even more, as this branch not only includes all the hangar and cargo improvements we discussed earlier, it also contains the next iteration of Invictus Launch Week, which is actually 2 weeks because we're all super extra here. And we'll introduce a handful of new ships and vehicles folks have been waiting for, as well as one straight to flyable that's available with 323 launch. So let's learn more from John, Ben, and Alberto.
The Mirai Pulse is Mirai's entry into the ground Gravlev bike category.
Is a new racing vehicle from Mirai. It kind of builds on some of their kind of core values as a brand of MISC, focusing more on performance. It takes a lot of inspiration, should we say, from the Razor, and really kind of shrinks that kind of thrill of speed down.
So the role of Gravlev vehicles in the game, and especially hover bikes, it allows you to, you've got a mission in mind, perhaps you don't want to risk bringing your ship or larger vehicle right up to it. It allows you to park some distance away, out of radar range, out of line of sight, and then infiltrate stealthily, speedily towards the target location. And of course, as features like weather comes online and more diverse and hazardous biomes such as heavily dense forests, Gravlev vehicles, bikes will become more useful as ways to get closer to your target without damaging ships. The Pulse is our smallest ground vehicle. It was a intentional design choice to make something as small and compact and as fast as possible, and Mirai as a brand sort of fits that performance ideology.
It needs to be small. It needs to be small, fast, agile, and really that just kind of gives us a much greater opportunity of how the players can really experience that sense of speed. on one of our ground vehicles.
So the Pulse comes in two flavors. We've got the base version, which comes equipped with a custom laser Gatling on the front. And then you have the LX, which is the dedicated racing version. It loses that front weapon, replaces it with a big intake, you get extra thrusters. So out of all the Gravlev bikes, it is one of the most agile there. The reason it's so small and compact is we wanted it to have the most compatibility with all of our other vehicles in game. So by being compact, allows you to pretty much stuff it into every single other vehicle in existence in the game.
Size-wise, I think it's just over 2.5 meters in length, so it is tiny. To put that into some perspective, it's a tiny bit longer than 2 SCU of cargo, so it is very small.
I'm sure there will be one or two vehicles out there where it doesn't.
Yo,
fit
yo,
in,
yo,
maybe
Jim,
it's
what's
the
up,
SUV,
man?
But across the board, it's designed to get in a lot of other vehicles. My favorite thing about the Pulse series is just the way we've integrated all the components together into that incredibly tight chassis.
We tried to kind of fuse the idea of a sports bike, but almost, I think they're called like naked bikes. So we wanted it to feel still quite aggressive and quite kind of chunky, almost like a bobber. But we kind of really wanted that sleekness that Mirai and the brand as a whole kind of is known for. One of the, I guess, biggest kind of challenges that our like Alberto and the concept team really had to work on, which then turned our production artists and kind of gave them a few things to scratch their head against, is really fitting all of the ship items and the components into a vehicle of this size.
As we never did anything so small, new problems come along. I decided to take the same approach of a motorbike. We tried to insert most of the components in what will be the fuel tank, and with this approach we kept the same shape, the same main shape of a motorbike. So we have very fluid and soft shapes, palindromal, which means that you can flip it and it looks kind of the same, and then we added the front part just to connect the semiotic of the racing vehicles to this one. We were really tight to the size because it can fit in a container, and that created a huge challenge with how the components move when you actually have to expose them. So that dictated actually the shape we ended up with, and I'm really happy with the final result because you couldn't say probably that inside such a small vehicle there are so many components.
Compared to our other Gravlev ground vehicles, the Pulse it trades durability for speed and agility. So compared to say like the Dragonfly and the Hoverquad, which are relatively tanky, not as good there.
The Nox is more tense and definitely bigger. Mirai tries to simplify things a bit. Less is more. We try to have a different approach compared to most of racing vehicles and communicate speed through mass and not through aerodynamics, although we keep aerodynamics in consideration for this kind of stuff.
In terms of the Nox and the X1, it is right up there in speed and agility. So they all trade different speed attributes in terms of straight line speed, cornering speed, rotational velocities. And the bespoke weapon on the front of the base model is our first laser Gatling in the game, so we're looking forward to see how that performs. So that's the Pulse coming online in 3.23, 2 variants of it. Looking forward to seeing all the different scenarios you're going to get it into.
Did I say it's small? It's really, really small. And goes really, really fast.
Okay, that's good.
See the memes coming?
So what did we learn this week? Well, hopefully we were reminded of all the great work the combined Star Citizen and Squadron 42 teams have been working on that make their way to the persistent universe in Alpha 3.23. That like any and every other feature in Star Citizen, the work doesn't stop here and will continue to iterate and evolve in subsequent releases. And that the Mirai Pulse is this teeny tiny hover bike that can fit into all sorts of places and may just be John Griffith's and James Kay's worst nightmares when players try to squeeze them deep down into the distribution centers. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
I'm not going anywhere. Sorry. If you're quick on the trigger here, you can slow it down. You can hear me now, right? Look here. F7 Mark II-A, right? So that's good. Continuing. That's Invictus. These are field medics, because look here. Medical gun, white and red armor. Okay. So what's going on here? Some people have said this is a medical Ursa, maybe. We don't know. We'll find out. Yeah. This is a big one, Jim. Look at this. Brand new MPUV right here. Tractor beam. A Pisces, probably. But look at this. This is a brand new Argo. Look at this. No box. No different color. It's got a tractor beam mount or something up front. Headlights. Yeah, this is different right here. Hang on, I'm going to see if I can get a better look at it. There. There's a good look. Okay. So yeah, this is definitely an Argo. Yeah, I'm not a Drake fan. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Now, do you notice a constant in this video, Jim? Right here. There she is. She's coming very, very soon. It's going to be a flyby at first. But look at this. Here she is. The friggin' Polaris. Soon. I would say pretty damn soon. Yeah, we'll see. I don't think it'll be an Invictus, but I do think it'll be late this year. We'll see. I mean, I already own it, so I don't have to buy it again. So, yeah. That's the fortunate thing. I don't have to pay for it anymore. Yay! That's a good thing. Right? Is it a good thing? Yes, kind of, sort of. Sorry. Okay, continuing.
You were taunting everybody who came to try and find you.
Yeah. And they went, we're going to kill this guy. And we went, kill him.
Yeah. And then they did kill him. Yeah.
Might be able to pledge for it. Yeah, probably. I would say we'd also be able to get an IS. I think we're also going to get. Here's my prediction, Jim. I think we're going to get an ISC dedicated again to the Polaris, but like an update on RSI ships during Invictus, because just a second before I start this, let me see, just a second, okay? Give me a second. But if you look at when Invictus starts, it starts in 2 weeks, right? The 17th. Now, what's important about the 17th? Well, the day before that, I doubt we can pledge at the moment, but it's worth a try. Doubt it. There hasn't, the store is yet to be updated yet. It's only it's only 1 o'clock. Don't they update it at like 2 o'clock or so? I can't remember. I think it's a 2 o'clock thing when they update. I could be wrong. Yeah, because the whole A and C are still here. Yeah. And the hammerhead. Kind of an odd duck, yeah. I think we can only pledge for the Drake Kraken around DefenseCon, which, hold on, let me see. Change page. Let's see. Can I change the page? That's weird. Okay, that's kind of weird, but okay. Hold on. There we go. I don't think you can at the moment, but we'll see. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's available yet, Jim. The only big ship they have is the Hammerhead and the Hull C at the moment, ATM. But it's still early. It's 2 weeks from now. They are going to have DefenseCon again, though. I don't think they've released the what quantities of ships there are. Is that what you're asking about, Jim? You know, the quantities of ships? Does that make sense? Sorry. Five. Not it. Bar Citizen. Oh, on a Vic this week. Yeah, it will be. I think it will be because it's a military ship. Let me double check. I'm trying to find the Invictus bit. There we are. Here we go. If they're doing the Drake logo here, I really think that they're going to be doing it. So maybe the week before we'll get the amounts of what ships are available. I would say next week at this time, which would be the 10th, right? Yeah, 10th, Jim. Does that make sense? I don't think we're going to have it this week because the week's already over, right? It should be available. Sorry if I'm being super weird. It is, I bet you it will be, because I seem to remember the Kraken being sold. Because see, DefenseCon's May 25th and 26th. Isn't that when it's usually sold? I think it is. Hold on, let me ask somebody. Let me ask, because I am super, super curious about that myself. Isn't the Kraken sold at DrakeCon? Trying to get your answer. Yeah, I understand. I mean, the Kraken's a nice ship. Not my bottle of tea, but hey, it's a good ship for people who want it, you know? Somebody was asking. I can't remember exactly what somebody told me, but I do believe you're right because the Kraken is sold at DefenseCon, you know? And yeah, $1,000 is a lot for a ship. Really is. When you think about it. It's crazy expensive. I completely understand. Believe me. I think I'm right, though. It makes sense. Anyways, I'm going to get done with this.
Came to haunt you when you tried to get out at the end.
But we've never actually.
By the way, spoiler alert, Jim, there is a partial wipe coming up. So just be aware of that.
We never finished that mission.
You guys, well, more or less you did, because you guys had a confrontation with the final boss. He had his
Is he the one that disappeared?
transitional moment.
He took the guy, right?
Paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when are we going to play again?
As soon as we can find time,
Soon.
you know?
Soon.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to what show is this? Star Citizen Live, Alpha 323 and beyond. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. If you've never seen Star Citizen,
What show is this? Really?
An hour at the end of our week to ask Rick, our dungeon master, when our next game is. Rick, when's our next game?
Sometime after 323.
Okay, fair enough.
Dungeon Master, he
Three
says.
members of the, quite frankly, the Squadron 42 and the Star Citizen development leadership team. So let's take a few moments, get to know them before we jump into your questions. Rich, just because you're sitting closest to me, and you want to start with you, tell everybody who you are, what you do for Star Citizen.
So I am Richard Tyra, and I am the senior game director for Star Citizen and Squadron 42. And that means I work directly with Chris on the vision for both games, and then I work directly with the teams on executing that vision.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Rick?
I'm the design director for CIG, which means I handle all the design departments for both SC and S42, which is level design and mission design and content design and tech design and systems design and economy design and UI UX design. And so, yep. So yeah, work with my assistant directors to make sure that everything's getting done and it's all on the same page as Rich is leading.
And this is your very first any sort of video appearance for Cloud Imperium Games.
Yeah, my debut.
And how long have you been here?
Like 5 years.
So you've been here 5 years and managed to avoid it that long.
Yeah.
How'd we get you this time?
I said yes.
Fair enough. Sometimes that's all it takes. And JJ, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So I'm the assistant design director here. So I cover some of the teams that Rick mentioned. So I more directly focus on.
Chat, Chris told him get behind camera probably or else. That's my guess.
Things like the mission design, system design, technical design, and economy design. So I kind of work on the creative side with those teams and obviously push and help those guys deliver what they need to deliver for the releases.
Okay. So in the last letter for the chairman, that's where it was revealed that you've moved over from Squadron. Well, that's not technically true. You didn't move over. You expanded. You consumed. You basically spread out across 2 games. You know, bringing Rick and JJ with you. You were originally back with the old actor feature team. You went over to Squadron, led Squadron, got it to feature complete. Came back here. The question I want to ask: how the hell do you run 2 games?
I don't go home very often. So that's one.
That is honestly probably how it works, Jim. I think Chris has names from a hat, just like whose line is it anyway? And then draws a name and then says, okay, you're today's lucky victim. So, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I've set up hierarchies on both of those teams to be able to work independently of me when I'm not there. But I spend a lot of time reviewing both sides from Squadron and Star Citizen. And if they were very different games, it would be a very different beast. But obviously, they share the same features, they share the same aspects that we want to get from the games. They're obviously different content. But, you know, I have to work with Rick and JJ, who, you know, all three of us were on the core gameplay pillar, and then we did Squadron, and then we've done SC, so we've kind of all been all together. So it's just, you have to build up the teams to understand that they can, you know, give them the authority to be able to deliver on decisions and make those decisions, and you trust those people to do that. And then, you know, ultimately I'll be reviewing the game and give my feedback. But yeah, it's a lot of meetings and a lot of discussions, but yeah, it's a lot, very enjoyable.
We touched this a little bit in your, you know, who are you and what do you do, but I'm curious about the division of labor between the three of you. I think Rick, you obviously feature more on the technical aspects than
Yeah,
else.
that's my
But tell me how this triumvirate works. Are you just constantly move together as a pack of three? Do you divide and conquer? How's this work?
A bit of both, yeah. Like whenever there's a new design, we all come together and make sure that we're all on the same page, and then we kind of split off and divide it up amongst ourselves to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that it's something I've been very cognizant of the fact that I've always wanted to make sure that we're a trio of partnerships, to make sure that we're all on the same page, because we've got such a large team. We want to make sure that we're giving consistent messaging to the team that we're working on. So any new designs or anything new or any new content will always have an initial brief amongst ourselves before it propagates wide. But then, as Rick says, and you know, we definitely do divide and conquer. So, you know, JJ tends to look at like the events and work with Elliot on the mission feature team and system design. Rick is obviously more technical and from a technical background, is working with Joe is on the tech design team, and then obviously myself is more broad, but we definitely divide and conquer to help. But we always, it's never isolation. We always come back and go back and spread out again and come back and spread out again. So, and we've all got different expertise in different areas, so it works well as a team.
Yeah, I mean, we're all sat right next to each other. There's not a day go by we're not talking to each other. So
Cool. So with that, let's jump into some of the Alpha 323 questions. Obviously, we post, as we normally do, we put a thread up on Spectrum, which is our bespoke communication platform on robertspaceindustries.com. We allowed our citizens to submit questions and then vote on which ones they wanted to see answered most. As we usually do, we've sometimes smashed some of those questions and reworded them a little bit, but there's a bunch in here. The first question right off the bat I want to ask, is Alpha 323 coming out today?
No.
Okay.
Next question.
Next question. How did we end up with fauna like the Copian and Merrick instead of anything we've previously seen before, like the Space Cow or the Stormwall?
I'll take that one. Okay. So we've got Space Cow and also Space Whale, you know, aside from the cool names, and also got, you know, Space Worm, you know, all these really cool creatures that we're working on in the background, but each of those have like their own unique challenges that are going to take a little bit longer to get out. So with the Copion, we picked a creature that we knew was going to fit some of the early missions that we wanted to do, a ground predator, land-based, that we could get in the game within the time frame that we had. And then the other cool thing is the Marok is our first Boyd, and our Boyd technology is something that will allow us to scale the number of creatures that we can have on planets in the future. So it's exciting to test that feature early.
Also announced in this ISC, the next, or this SEL, next week's Inside Star Citizen will be about more creatures. So who knows what they're going to be talking about. I'm hoping more variety of critters, but we'll see. And at the same time, ones that have already been announced, might be in the game. Who knows? We'll see. There's also, curiously, no SCL next Friday. So, what's that about? We'll find out, I guess. Continuing.
We've been talking about Boyd's, and around the verse episode about Boyd's was one of the very first things I ever, produced here. They look like the flood in Halo when we first showed that one. So this Boyd technology has been a long time coming.
Yeah, and just to summarize, like what a Boyd is, if you're not aware, just in very simple terms, it's just basically a lightweight AI.
Yeah.
So you have like a human AI, which is a fully fledged combat with what people have been familiar with in 322 and previous. A Copion is the equivalent of a human AI in terms of its complexity, so in terms of its animation, sounds. A Boyd is kind of just a lighter version of that. So obviously a bird, it doesn't have all of the same parameters. So a fish, for example, would be a Boyd and things. So anything that's got like flocking and you want to have as a group and it's flocking together. So it's just a simpler implementation. So as Rick says, they were two creatures that allowed us to hit the things that we wanted to hit. It doesn't mean that we're not going to push the Quasi-Grazer and the Narwhal, the Space Whale further down the line, or into the game at some point. But yeah, these two were good ones that we needed to get out the way from a technology standpoint.
And for those wanting to learn more, next week's ISC is dedicated entirely to the creation of the Copion and the Merrick and stuff. So you can check that out on ISC next week. Next question. Economy updates have been few and far between for the persistent universe. It's I think a lot of the easy criticism of stuff in the PU has been the economy. We know that there are some economy updates coming in 323, but we haven't really fully discussed those. So what can you tell us about what's happening in 323?
So we wanted to basically review a bunch of our major items in the game. So looking at like armor, weapons, ships, and basically start to apply more logic to why they are being priced that way. So we started with the weapons and armor basically. So we started looking at things like applying value to different aspects of them. So like looking at pure size and just going, associating a rough material cost with a pistol is obviously going to be less material cost than a bigger rifle or a shotgun or something that's a bit chunkier. So obviously there is a weight of value associated with that. Then also looking at things like manufacturers, because manufacturers some of them have like a manufacturing quality associated with them or a prestige. Looking at the different tech levels, we've got some kind of very basic ballistic weapons, and we've got some very advanced like, electron or like laser weapons that are going to be, a manufacturing cost associated with them. So people can go in and go to the shop and go like, look at the different weapons against each other and go, oh, okay, this makes logical sense because this is rarer or this looks more expensive and feels more expensive to use. And we did the same thing with the armor too. Then we started looking at some of the bigger ticket items like our ships. So again, we applied very, very similar logic to those where we kind of go like, okay, let's look at the size. Let's look at how they're being used. Are they used to make money? Because if you think about a commercial vehicle in the real world, typically they cost more because you're going to be able to make money with them. And then looking at manufacturers, quality, is it a luxury ship? That then applies more value to as well. And then obviously weighing that up against the actual prices that you're paying real money for as well, and and making sure there's an association with them there as well. And that also kind of allowed us to like look at a lot of the outliers that we had previously and kind of go, oh, okay, some of them are sitting way far above everything else for some reason, and some of them are sitting way far below everything else. So it's kind of just been a way of leveling it out, applying logic to a lot of that stuff as well. There was a couple of other things that we looked at too. So we also looked at bouncing salvage out because I think that had not had a thorough pass before. And we kind of saw people just getting millions upon millions of UEC through salvaging. So we felt that was basically flooding our economy with alpha UEC.
I knew this would be coming.
People, the value of things just go down so much and it becomes meaningless when you can kind of exploit a system like that. So we've applied some more logic to that and brought the kind of like gains down on what you can get from salvage. And then we also took a look at bouncing mission rewards. So instead of everyone having to go to make money, you have to default salvage. We're now looking at the effort versus reward algorithm that we're applying to our missions and basically going like, hey, how much effort, how much risk, how difficult are they? What are you putting into these missions? Is it super difficult? Okay, you should earn more money from it. Is it long? You should probably earn more money from it as well. So just overall, things should kind of feel a bit more as you would expect.
And this isn't the end of that tuning in 323. This is the next.
No, this is just the
major-
first pass.
Well,
the next pass anyway.
yeah, I mean, on that note for economy, I think I touched on this in the letter for the chairman. I think a lot of these systems have been around for a long time, like claim timers, insurance, obviously the economy values for missions, and they've kind of were balanced correctly as and when they were done a long time ago. You know, the game's been out for a long time. But we need to start bringing these systems a bit of more cohesion of how they talk to each other. So going forward, you know, I think the players and the community should expect to see, I think, some significant changes to those systems as we move towards trying to create a more cohesive experience in the game. Because I think right now,
Can I say I want the same thing you do too, Jim? I think they will have that in places that there's not a dynamic economy. So, yeah. Hopefully that's the case. I'd also like some more ores in the mining tree and maybe minerals. I mean, the mining branch is definitely needs some buffing. Hate to say it. Anyways, continuing.
now if you know how to play, if you just take 322 as a good example, if you really know where to go, like JJ said, you can just make millions upon millions. And once you've got so much money and everything is linked to progression with money, you can just buy your way and that's it, right? And you lose the desire or the motivation to keep playing the game. So I think we want to build that motivation in that, you know.
Exactly, Jim. Crafting.
It gives me this reward. So,
Crafting, yeah.
and then obviously the other side of the coin, we don't really have.
That's
a lot of
exactly
rewards
right.
now. So
Hang on. I agree with my viewer, Jim, here. I want something to do with ores and minerals. Crafting. This right here. Is there a way to pin this? No, there's not. Yes. I mean, I'm in agreement with you on that, definitely, Jim. That would definitely open some doors. It's probably coming. Hopefully soon. I mean, I could say that.
in terms of insurance, I think, you know, you just claim back your ship blows up, you just claim it back immediately. You die, you know, we've talked about death of a spaceman for a long time, but yeah, we want to start bringing all these systems in place, and I think going forward we will have some more changes on that front.
So, and of course, we'll have a story next quarter with Benoit and Andre and stuff about the future development of quantum and how that'll play into that. So we don't need to touch too much on that now, just for the folks who are in chat asking. All that tees up probably one of the most.
Just going to say one thing though, I hate the name Quantum because we've already got Quantum in the game. So I'm definitely going to be pushing to change that name.
Hey, rebrand, man, rebrand. So all of that tees up the question that has, frankly, has dominated the chat since we first started talking about this 5 minutes ago now. Will there be a wipe in 323?
Yes, so we're going to look to wipe Alpha UEC and rentals, I believe. And that's purely because if we don't, all of the analytics that we get back from people playing the game are going to be basically false reports because people are going to be using all of their banked cash and it'll just be like, oh, people are just buying all of these now more expensive items, for example, and that then tells us that these more expensive. No, not really. It's just that people are using giant that they've been keeping for a long time. So while it might be disappointing for some people to lose the money they've built up, it really, really helps us in informing us, like, have we made, you know, have we pushed the economy in the right direction so we can keep making iterations and informed decisions going forward.
Yeah. And that's a good thing to note on as well. You know, we're a live game. You know, just because we change the prices in 323 doesn't mean we'll then change them in 4.0. We want to put them in. This is our first rebalance or re-leveler. We'll evaluate, and that's why we want to do the right. We'll evaluate. Okay, look at the data.
A viewer of my stream was asking
on that data.
One of the other
Hang on. I'm going to try again. Can you hear me now? There we go. Somebody commented on my comment I asked and said, you're more than likely going to be able to get the Kraken. It'll be hull limited. It won't be, completely in stock, unfortunately. You're going to have to play F5 Wars. So be careful, okay? Just wanted to make sure you knew. Yeah. There you go. Hope that answers your question, Jim. Sorry about the delay.
Things that's been on the public roadmap for 323 has been the reputation hostility system changes. What should players expect in terms of gameplay with the reputation hostility feature card committed to the 323 roadmap? Thus far in the testing cycle, we have not seen any evidence of any changes in features or gameplay with regards to this card.
Yeah, reputation hostility wasn't really for 323 so much as future. It's setting us up for success in 4.0 and Pyro and the systems that we want to do there. Like the system itself is cool. It allows us to set up factions that you can gain rep with, and they become your allies and help you out and come to your aid when you're being attacked, and vice versa. You can piss somebody off, and that they're mad at you and they'll attack you on sight. You're not going to see a lot of that implemented in Stanton right now, but we wanted to get it in so we could start testing it in Stanton ahead of Pyro. The first place we want to do it is in Grimhex. We're planning to set that up as a neutral zone in the near future, so you'll see more of it then.
And we do have some settlements, I believe, with the Duster faction in 323, where if you do encounter them, the AI are neutral to you. So if you go and you see and you might have a delivery mission to that settlement, they won't attack you unless you attack them. So there is some small instances where, like Rick says, we're testing out that feature, and then it's really more of laying the groundwork for future.
We just need more feedback on that feature and as we continue to roll it out.
Okay. So this next question comes with a very specific set of instructions. Let me make sure I get this right. This is for JJ. Questions for JJ. Tom, follow me over to JJ. Sniper Glint.
Uh-oh. I knew this was coming. This is so funny. Oh my gosh. This needs to be a meme picture. Right here. This. Make it happen, CIG, please. Yes, for Twitch.
So Sniper Glint was basically our first kind of proper foray into giving you some good feedback against someone who's using a sniper rifle. So this was actually a very low development cost feature that we wanted to basically try out. And it's not to say that there are other things we can't do later that might be better for the game that we're heading towards eventually. But this was something we wanted to try out purely because when we start adding more and more systems into the game that kind of lead us to this death of a spaceman kind of future, which for people who don't know, is basically there's going to be more punishment through death. Death is going to be it's going to be a very big deal. And if you have a moment where you die and there was nothing you could have done about it because you had no idea about what happened, that's where it becomes a big frustration. If I come and kill you with a shotgun, you probably could have heard me coming and you could have prepared for it and shot me. You see me as part.
I think the correct term you're searching for is strobe light. Or floodlight. Flashlight. Yeah. Strobe light or flashlight one, seriously. I've seen the pictures. It's just like, why? Why are you doing this to us? You're friends, you're pals. Why are you doing this to us? Like, why? It's torture. Oh my gosh, it's just, yeah. The Sniper Glint is horrible. And if there was one thing in this patch I could change, tone it down, for crying out loud. This guy needs to tone down the sniper glint. Sheesh. Keep going. Here we go.
Part of that process. Whereas when we start looking at, shooting people over massive distances that we have on our giant planets, if you, dial in your scope right, you can shoot someone from like over a kilometer away and you're not going to be able to see them. So it was our first attempt at looking at what kind of feedback we can start providing people to kind of cut through some of that frustration. Now, there are other things that we can do in the future that I think support that as well. So like looking at, bigger muzzle flashes that you can see at longer distances, and like improving our whiz-by system and hit reaction and feedback and things like that. Those are things we can work on, but they take a lot more time to kind of get right. So ultimately, we want to play with the sniper glint system, see what people think, see what we think, dial it in more if we like it, or if we decide it's not the ideal solution that we eventually want, we can always turn it off. It was very low cost, like I say. So ultimately, it's good that people are giving us feedback because it's going to inform us on how we want to move forward.
I think you make a good point there that this is alpha. This is where we test ideas.
Yep.
Not every. You can sit there. We can debate it. And I'm sure internally there were people that said, "No, I hate this," and internally some people said, "No, this is going to be great. I hate snipers. I'm going to love this stuff." We don't always have to make that determination internally. We can put it in, especially if it's a low effort thing like this, and find out for certain.
Yep.
And Sniper Glint's a great example of that. So keep your feedback coming. You can direct it directly to.
Can we just admit it was a bad idea? Please? Seriously? Can we just openly admit this was a bad idea? It's not going to work for the game as it is. It's going to make a lot of people angry. I mean, I'm just saying. Normally I don't complain, but yeah. That comment, lame.
JJ, Johnny Giusevius, Manchester Goods Yard.
You have to spell my name right, though.
You have to spell his name right, though. The front desk will not deliver it to you if you don't spell his name right. And I'm not going to tell you how to spell it, so that's the challenge rating for you. All right. Rick, this might be a question for you. Why can we scan other players' ships, but not our own?
Well, ship scanning is meant to just be detecting what's outside of your ship, right? It's error exploitation of the world around you. So that's kind of inherent in the nature of it. If I understand the question correctly, it's like, I want to be able to detect stuff on my ship, which is going to be handled by FBS scanning, which is one of the features that we're working on moving over from Squadron to SE right now.
Okay, fair enough. That seems like
very nice to hear that. Hopefully with some form of IR cameras, I hope.
That was what they were talking about. So, okay. Rich, we've talked about master modes quite a bit. It's had 2 CitizenCon presentations. It's had an ISC. It's had at least 3 SCLs since we first started talking about it 2 years ago. At the last 2 CitizenCons ago, rather.
Sure.
Technically 3 CitizenCon ago now.
Honestly, Jim, that should make it harder for them anyways, because that'll separate the real pirates from the fakes, in my opinion. The ones that are able to sneak onto a ship, get the job done totally undetected. They're going to be known as masters of the art in the community. And the ones that caught, they'll be forgotten. That's my opinion. It's going to be the big divider. The divider between the actual pirates that people remember in the game and the people that were a footnote. That's my opinion. It's kind of going to be one of those difficulties that pirates are going to have to deal with. That's just my opinion. I mean, I think there'll be some limitations, like short range. I know on Earth, in atmosphere, infrared is a very short range thing. It tends to wear out from a certain distance due to the atmosphere and the ambient environment, heat of the environment around you. So, yeah, I don't like ramp campers. They're annoying. So, as far as I'm concerned, the pirates, they can kiss my skid plate. Sorry. I'm sure you understand, Jim. They can kiss my skid plates because if they really want to be a pirate, they need to have the difficulties of being a pirate. The ramp campers and the guys that walk into your hangar and try to whisk off with your stuff, right? Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep going.
We haven't talked about where it came from. What was the problem, and why was this deemed the solution?
Well, first off, I think the fact that we're working on a live game, the issue is that we should always be looking at, even if we've got a system that's out in the wild, we should be looking at evaluating it and does it deliver the gameplay that we want, that the community wants, that Chris wants. So when we looked at the combat as a whole, and we're talking a long time ago now. I was probably still in Star Citizen. It was probably pre-Squadron when we started talking about master modes. A lot of the combat that we saw across the broad spectrum of the community, not just the new players and not just the very well experienced players, but the broad spectrum, basically became jousting, and we felt that we could do better than that. Now, I know that there's a lot of discussion points around master modes where we're talking about lowering the ceiling cap, and that was never the intention. That's not our inspiration. Our intention really is to try and create a system that is fair to use for all players, that allows players to come on and still feel like they can engage in the game and compete, but still reward the very best pilots. And master modes is the iteration that it is today. It's been through like probably 20, 25 iterations of different tweaks and changes, and we want to try this and we want to try this. And even the iteration that we're going live with in 3.23 that's not the end. That's just the beginning of that process. We will put it live. I already had a meeting literally this morning to discuss with Yogi about spool times between SCM and nav, or what are we going to do with snub fighters that don't have a quantum drive? Like, do they have a nav mode? And I was like, well, yeah.
Yeah, that was my first question about snub fighters, yeah.
I think they should do. So the expectation is that master modes came from the goal to try and improve the overall flight experience for both combat and non-combat in the game, so that you can feel like if you want to be a space trucker, that's cool, you can switch in, or if you want to be, a trader or a miner or combat. So it's about taking something and making it accessible to new players, that it's has a lot of depth for existing players to then take advantage of, and really that was the inspiration. There's never really a moment in time where you start going, this is a problem, we just need to fix it. It's more about you evaluate these systems over a longer period of time, and then start to think of solutions about how to improve it, and then those solutions grow and grow into a new system that you go, oh, this could be a solution that we could do. And with master modes, I think we did. You mentioned all the times that we've talked about it, but we've also done several tests with the community before we've even got here, outside of just the 3.23 Evocati and PTU. We did, we tested it in Arena Commander, we tested it with players a long time ago. So this is the long you know, this is the result of a lot of effort and work by a lot of people to get it where we are now, and I think I believe in it. And now it's about getting it to the broader audience, and then we evaluate that feedback and we tweak it and tune it and get it to where we think it could be. Because I think you always have to change the foundation before you change, you know, you can start. You either have to do revolution or evolution.
Yeah.
And I think with the previous system, the evolution wasn't going to give us what we wanted from the end result. So we had to go slightly back a bit to then go forward.
You touched on something I think we're going to touch on a couple of times before we're done today. This idea of going to a wider audience to get a broader test going. I think it's sometimes easy to forget that the live environment is still our alpha test environment, and we get a concurrency there that we don't get in Evocati, we don't get in PTU. Even when we open it up wide, you know, even a fully wide open PTU doesn't get the
Absolutely.
amount of stress that the live testing environment is. So sometimes it's like you can only, there's this idea, and again, we'll talk about it when we get there, that you just let a thing cook, you just let a thing cook, you just let a thing cook, you just let a thing cook. It's like our biggest stove, our biggest oven in this analogy here is the live alpha environment. That's where we can put the most stress on a feature. That's where we can find the causes of issues. That's where we can best find the solutions of issues are there. So it's important. So that's the next step of master mode development. It's been through all these internal phases. It's been through Evocati. It's been through PTU. Now it's time to go to live.
Yeah,
and be tested there.
To be honest, I've been playing master modes for a long time in Squadron. You know, getting a feel for it. Does it feel right? And you know, sometimes you have to sit with a feature and play it and get the everyday scenario. You can't just take half an hour and go, oh yeah, it's approved. Like, you have to play the game and play it for yourself in all the different scenarios, and then make a judgment, and then, you know, get that feedback, and then we can tweak and improve.
I think the interesting thing is as well, because it's been going for quite a while, and obviously we've been playing it internally a lot, we've had a lot of very, very passionate pilots, Star Citizen pilots at the company who at first were, you know, they felt adverse to the change, like some people in the community are as well. But it's been amazing seeing them playing with it, spending time with it, and coming round on it and going, actually, this is really, really fun. Like, I was, you know, I prefer this now. So it's been very cool seeing that process happen internally, and it's going to be interesting to see how it develops in SE as well.
While we're still talking about 323 here, the ePTU currently has issues with input delay, desync, lag, whatever you want to call it, performance issues. What's the deal there? What's causing it, and what are we doing to fix it?
So first off, we're evaluating all of the analytics that we get back, because, you know, there's one thing that we get, obviously the issue council reports that, you know, are very, very useful for us, that people go out their way and spend their free time and testing the game and working on the game for us, and giving us the issue council reports that we take in. We also obviously have our own internal teams evaluating that. And the interaction lag itself seems to be linked to the network side of things, where kind of the network is getting throttled, and it's essentially related to the RL and the server separation. So it's something that obviously we haven't experienced before in 322, but it's been very, very tricky to try and find out what is causing that problem. And one of the biggest things that we've seen that exacerbates that problem is when the server performance dips below a certain value, that's when it starts to back up. So there wasn't really...
Can I just say, though, I am super, super happy we are having a...
So when we're looking at the interaction lag,
you know, thing like that,
pretty
like
much
server
a
reboot
lot
and stuff.
of our top engineers from both the core technology group and the gameplay side looking at performance improvements that we can do to basically mitigate the interaction lag as much as possible. And I think the last ePTU or the PTU that we went to previously, it was very minimal. I think because obviously we catch all these reports, we have debugging in there that captures all of the data, and that debug actually creates performance problems for us because it slows down the performance. That we don't get that debug in live. So we think we've got it, and we think we've done enough to make it.
It's good that they're getting there, though, Jim. I'm very happy about that. you
There is
know,
obviously
super
still
happy.
certain bugs and things.
It's
that
not
feel like
perfect,
appear as
but
interaction lag and
yeah,
not interaction lag.
I'm like
So
legit
it's-
happy
when you come to
that they're
performance, it's
getting
never
there,
black
you
and
know?
white, black and white. There's always, unless you find something that's like, oh, this ship is intercolliding with a wall and it's causing massive amounts of stalling. But with the interaction lag, it was just one of those ones that was very difficult to track down. And you know, cross fingers, we think we have done that, but you know, only time will tell.
While we're on this topic, let's say another question that follows up on it here.
Yes,
So this
please.
question was-
Okay. Jim, I love you so much because you just mentioned what I was thinking. We also need despawn timers on entities that are removed for existing too long on launch pads and in hangars. Please. Hangars. I mean, legit, man. I would be so thrilled if they would get rid of those things hanging around for so dang long. You know?
The PTU was in a very rough state. Some would still, some are arguing. You look online, folks are arguing about this, what state it's in right now. This question is simply, how concerned are you with avoiding another 318?
Well, I don't want another 318 if that's the short question. The long answer, I think you have to look. You have to look at it from two different points of view, or not really two different points of view. You have to evaluate 2 points of view before we decide whether a patch should go live. I think the first point of view is the fact that you want to evaluate the gameplay experience. Have we made the gameplay better? Are the new features in there polished and working as intended? Are the existing features working? You know, have we lost anything that from a previous patch cycle that we want to make sure is fully functioning? And you know, that is a full whole team-wide effort. That's not an individual person. That is from all the reports that we get. We then obviously canvas live QA. We have the player experience team. We have publishing. We have the development leadership. You know, we're all playing it ourselves, getting a good sense of, is the quality of the game what we want it to be in terms of the gameplay experience, in terms of the features, when it works well. Then the other side of the coin, where it becomes trickier, is because we're an alpha product, we are releasing foundational technology into the game, into the wider audience. So for example, this one is the replication layer and the server split, which is the precursor to server meshing. So 318 was another foundational moment where we did persistent entity streaming. I don't believe it will be the same as 318 personally, but I'll soon find out. But when it comes to that foundational technology, similar to what I was discussing in terms of the interaction lag, when you put it to Evercati and then ePTU and PTU, we're only getting a fraction of concurrency compared to live. So when we're looking at some of the issues that are performance related and are stability related, we might think we're golden, and then you go to a live audience and something else pops up that we're like, oh, this is a problem, we need to hotfix it, we need to evaluate it. So we could spend the next 2 years just trying to get it to be absolutely bug-free and then go live and it still have issues because it's such foundational technology. It's not like we've bought something off the shelf and gone, slot it in, it works as intended, great. So we're proving something out that's never been done before, or at least we've never done it before. So we need to make sure that when we're testing this, that we test it as broad as possible. And then that is the balance between, okay, is the gameplay what we want it to be, but we might be introducing something that is potentially reducing stability or reducing performance. And when you look at reducing performance, that then has an impact on all the other things. So interaction lag, for example, people going up to doors and going, the doors are broken. Well, actually, no, that's just interaction lag. Your interaction's being backed up from, or the elevators are not working, or I'm stuck in my cockpit seat and I can't get out. It's not because your cockpit seat's broken, it's because the interaction was being absorbed and it was being queued in this giant queue trying to get through. So ultimately, you have to look at all of these different parameters, from the performance to stability, the new technology that we need to test, and all of the gameplay side of things, and you have to make a judgment call about, you know, whether it's beneficial for us to put it into the live audience so that we can get as much feedback as possible to then continue to work on it, to continue along the development pipeline towards where we ultimately want to be, which is we've released server meshing, we can have servers that have got hundreds and thousands of players playing all together. So it's never as black and white as just, it's good enough, let's ship it. It's always about, well, we go, okay, are we going to accept that we might run into more issues than we'd like to, but we need to do this to test this thing? And when we say testing a specific thing, it's also not about saying, oh, well, this issue was live on PTU. Sometimes that issue is live on PTU, but we don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
Because it's so complex.
That's the big one.
And then it's like, well, we can keep putting speculative fixes in, and speculative fix and speculative fix, and optimize this area of the code and optimize this. And is it the networking? Is it the player interaction system? Is it game code? And we're never, sometimes you need to go broad to be able to find it. And I think that's where it's never as easy as it sounds.
I'm so happy you said that. That's the big thing that I think gets lost in the you should just let it cook argument. It's that we can see this is broken, this is broken, this is broken. That's not the same as seeing the cause.
Exactly.
And in order to find a solution, you have to find the cause. So we can see all these things, and we look at it. We looking at the same thing that our players are looking at, and see that, okay, that's broken, that's broken, that's broken. But we're not finding the root cause of it, because concurrency is only at this level. And so putting it on our live alpha environment, that's the big thing that environment can do for us. It stresses it to the point where now causes reveal themselves and solutions can be built.
Yes, exactly. And to be clear, we'd never push something out that was knowingly just broken across the board.
Right.
Like, we would never want to do that, because that would just be a poor experience. People would stop playing the game, and then we wouldn't get the concurrency for us to be able to find the issues. So we're always going to want to strike that balance between, you know, we are not a fully live polished game. We are an alpha game, and we have to strike that balance with, we want to keep improving the game every patch so that people come to it and they enjoy the gameplay experience. I mean, that's my ultimate goal. But we still have these technology ambitions for us to be able to achieve the overall goal, and those are steps along the way. And this will be the same when we do server meshing. We will have scenarios with server meshing that it's such foundational technology that we will find things and we will fix them and fix them and fix them and fix them. But we will definitely, I can guarantee it right now, when we put server meshing live, we will find issues that either have been exacerbated by something or X, Y, Z. So that's just the nature of the beast.
All right. Two more questions about 323 before we move into the near future and stuff. These are all big ticket direction things, so sorry for backing so many of them up on you, Rich, here. It seems like there were a lot of things thrown into this patch. 323 is arguably the biggest patch Star Citizen's ever attempted, and then even with...
I would argue with Jared, the largest fundamental patch was 3.0, and I wasn't even around for the game back then. So, yes and no, but yeah, I get what he's saying. Continuing.
Cargo and hangars coming in at 323X, it's still the biggest patch I think we've put out. With 3.0, you might be able to argue certain things.
Sure.
Was it too much? Or should we have done smaller? Should this have been the 323, 1, 2, 3, 4 with all these things from the get-go? Was it too much? Is it just this is how it happens? What's your view on this?
I think from my perspective, and ultimately I was responsible for this, so this helps.
Go big or go home.
Yeah. I didn't want the transition of features from Squadron 42 into Star Citizen to take like 12 months. Because what it would have done is, first off, people have seen these features for a long time. And if we're spending 6, 8, 9, 12 months getting them over into the game, I think it would have detracted away from all of the features that we want to add to Star Citizen. So I wanted to make sure, and I wanted to push the team to deliver the features into Star Citizen in a good manner, so that we could then transition on to the features that are really more specific to Star Citizen, like cargo, like resource network, like base building, like the features that are not going to be in Squadron. So I wanted to make sure that we tried our best to have that to be as shortest period of time possible, so that, you know, there's the old adage, if you've got 4 weeks, you'll take 4 weeks. And I wanted to make sure that we tried to get it in a good manner as possible, so that we can start moving Star Citizen forward. And I think ultimately, you know, that was my decision. I stand by that decision, and you know, that's the reason.
Yeah, I think Tyler made a post on Spectrum yesterday about what our expectations of 2024 is, what we want to hit. We want 2024 to be a watershed year in the development of Star Citizen, with some pretty big milestones this year.
Yep.
So yeah, so a big part of that, and you set that goal, and part of pursuing that goal is you got to get all this Squadron stuff in there now, get it out of the way so you can start on the new stuff.
Well, absolutely. I needed to get that stuff done, so that I can move on to the things that we want to add to the game this year, that I think will start to define Star Citizen as a massively multiplayer online game.
I often say there's at times there's very little difference between the people who make Star Citizen and the people who play Star Citizen. I think sometimes we're just as anxious to get to the next thing, to put this stuff, to get this stuff in and get these features in, as our players are to play them.
Absolutely. I mean, when I look at Star Citizen itself, it's a concatenation of a lot of features and a lot of content. I want it to be a cohesive experience that is all tied together, and I want to get there as soon as possible. I want somebody to be able to play the game and understand all the things that they have available to them, and I want that to be a good onboarding experience, and then to have thousands of hours of gameplay and content for people to be able to play. Now, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of gameplay already in the game, but it's in isolated pockets. It's like, if you want to just be a miner, great, you can go and do mining, you can do that loop. But I want the connections. I want the interwebbing. That's the difference between features and content and a game. And I want to push towards that as quickly as possible.
Okay. So we got about 20 minutes left. We've done 2/3 of the show on 323 and stuff. Let's go into the near future. Anytime we put these question threads up, half the questions are about the patch, and half the questions are what's next. So let's start talking a little bit about what's next and some bigger.
I will say this regarding the reboot stuff. I'm pleasantly surprised how quick the servers actually recover. So yeah, it's interesting, yeah. I do like how the server, whatever it is, the reboot thing is rather good. Have you had the servers reboot before? Out of curiosity? Jim, I didn't know if you had or not. So keep going. I'm still going.
Your direction stuff. Cargo elevators, personal persistent hangars, that stuff, freight elevator stuff, that's been pushed into a 323.x patch. We're not going to sit here and say whether it's 0.1 or 0.2 or whatever. We've learned that lesson. Talk to us about.
I will be right back.
Oh, this one's me as well.
How's it going?
Be right back, Jim. I'm not I'm not shutting down. I gotta get something to drink. Be right back. Here we go.
Guns, yes.
So I played Cargo. I loaded it up. I went through the flow. I went to my storage access. I requested all my personal gear. It was delivered to me. I then went to the ASOP terminal. I requested my ship. The ship came up on its ship elevator. I went down, and then I went to my freight elevator, and then I requested my goods, and we had some issues. And those issues that have been resolved or are in the process of being resolved now, ultimately I was able to step through those issues to be able to get to the point where I could get my cargo and then manually load my cargo up into the ship and then take off. But if you look at Cargo, nobody can play the game without going through Cargo. It's a foundational feature. Like you can't, it's like inventory was a foundational feature. You can't play the game without just interacting with the system. If you want to get a ship, you interact with the system. You want to get something from your inventory, you interact with this system. So we can't be in a position where we're releasing it in a state that is essentially golden from the get-go. So we needed more time to be able to do that. Akin to what I just said, if you've got 4 weeks, you take 4 weeks. I didn't want to push it to the next patch. I didn't feel it was needed to get to the next patch. We are pushing hard to get it into a dot patch for the 3.23 cycle, and that is currently the intention, but we won't push it live until it is working and is infallible, because it's a core feature. It's a core feature in the flow. It's the first thing you do. You wake up from your hab, you go to your hangar, and you get your ship. So it needs to be solid, and it needs to be really good. So we just need to make sure that it is the best it can be before we push it live.
JJ, we'll give Rich a break here.
Yeah. Back to back to back.
Once the personal persistent instance hangars come out in the 3.23x patch, will our landing zone remain the same as what players choose when 3.23 drops? They set the home base, and then you can't change it for the time being. We're going to have an opportunity to change it again when the point X comes out, or will they be stuck with whatever choice they make in 3.23?
Hopefully Rich isn't next, because this is quite a quick answer, if you wanted a break. But yeah, so basically we're not doing a full reset, so your home location is as it was when you last set your character. When we do a full reset in future, that will give you an opportunity to choose a new home location. But I believe, and people will probably correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but you can use the character reset function on the website. But, and I'll look into the camera when I say this will mean that you lose everything that you've earned in game. So if that function is there and available, just be mindful when you actually use it, just because you will lose your UEC, you'll lose your bought ships in game, and things like that. So if you are really, really desperate to choose a new home location, I believe that is an option that you can pick and choose.
So we'll just assume that's off the table, though, because you don't want to lose all your stuff. So
Correct.
The answer is actually...
I would wait or move your things manually.
Okay.
To a new location.
Okay. And then and then a follow-up question. Obviously, the 4-star locations in 3.23, Microtech, Hurston, Area 18, Crusader. No left for Grimhex?
So not in 3.23. this question coming up actually kind of spurred me on to go and investigate this more to find out what was involved. We do actually, funnily enough, internally have Grimhex as a developer location, so it is set up to be a home location for us, but there are potential knock-ons with that, so we can't just switch it on and assume everything's going to be okay, because if you think about the landing zones, they're huge, they've got loads of facilities, you know, some of them are set up for the new player experience and things like that, so obviously Grimhex is a much smaller, condensed location. You've also got the problem that if you start to leave the station, you're more than likely going to be around other people who are going to be ready and willing to shoot you. So if a new player then accidentally picks Grimhex, not understanding the implications, that could be very frustrating. So there's a few things that I need to look into in Chase, but something I want to do. So I think we can definitely do it in the future.
Okay, that all makes sense. That's our near future 323X whatnot. Let's talk some general questions, some general direction process questions. I don't often get a chance to have game leadership like top of the pyramid. There's literally a pyramid now. Top of the pyramid stuff here. So I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to ask you some bigger picture stuff. Keeping in mind that there is a little thing called CitizenCon coming in October this year, so we're not going to touch on everything and whatnot. Rick, I think this one's for you. Arena Commander.
Yeah.
How do you see Arena Commander? Sometimes it seems like it's really important. Sometimes it seems like CIG has completely forgotten about it. Sometimes there's a Theaters of War. Sometimes there's years of complete silence.
I mean, the three of us spent a lot of time working on Theaters of War. Like, it's something that's very passionate for us. Like, we're excited to do things with AC, but like the priority right now is Star Citizen. And one of the ways that we're leveraging Arena Commander is that it's a great test bed for some of the features that aren't quite ready for content. So like something that may not be ready for an actual patch, but stuff that we want to test out, like resource networks, engineering, stuff that we can test in a
And I'm so glad they're testing so many new things. I mean, really. There for the longest time, this game almost felt stagnant, you know, and not changing. Especially 2-3 years ago or so, it felt really stagnant and not in development. Now, it feels totally different. The game is more or less starting to come together. It's not perfect, but yeah, they were yeah, I understand that, Jim. It's understandable. I mean, I get it. But yeah, and they were growing their studio too. A lot of people forget that as well. They were also growing their studio, Jim. You know? Two minutes. So yeah, it's definitely been interesting. I would say it's been a good hot minute. For the Reclaimer, yeah. I know for a fact it's been a hot minute on the Reclaimer. Because, yeah, it's like, the Reclaimer, I don't think we could use it all initially, you know, at all. And I'm just glad we're able to use it, even in a incomplete state prior to a massive rework. We all know the Reclaimer as we know it is probably going to be modified from where it is right now. Can you imagine the resource networking on the Reclaimer? That's going to be a nightmare in its current state. I think that's why they're doing so many ships with the resource network. You could not even scrape. Yep, you couldn't. Not with a Reclaimer. Nope. Now it's actually a functional ship. Albeit a ship that needs some help still, but it's still a ship that works, you know? Okay. Yeah, I mean, there are certainly things they could do. Yeah, I mean, the way it is, the Reclaimer would be much happier in space instead of on a planet. That's just my opinion, too. I mean, yeah, I could get distracted about this for a while. Let's face it, the Reclaimer, yeah, it could. Honestly, yeah. Let's finish up with this.
A specific game mode in Ring Commander and get some insights before we go full content with it in Star Citizen. So.
Well, hot off the press, I did have a conversation with Jens this morning about potentially is the specific word here, that we might use Arena Commander to validate the new spawn closet for FPS AI.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's it. You had a lot of build up there, and then how's that going to manifest?
Well, we've never had PvE FPS in Arena Commander.
It's
there we go.
Like a horde mode, game mode. Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure that the lead wasn't buried there. Thank you for clarifying. I
thought you were Jared. I thought you had that.
No, I had it. I'm asking the question that somebody was. Okay, next 7 questions are for Rich. No, okay. JJ, again, talking a bit bigger picture stuff. The go no go process, the very way that these decisions are made to whether this feature should be included and whatnot. This process has changed and evolved over the years. It's not like we just set something up in 2014 and kept the same process since then. Talk me through.
You hope not.
Huh? What?
I hope we didn't.
Well, I've been here. I'm on a decade here. I know we did. Here, talk to me about what the go no go process is like today.
Yeah, so for us, it's a much more gradual process. There's not really one moment in time where it's like, is this thing ready or not? It's more of a constant review of how features are progressing, and we like to be very hands-on with the team and with the features. So typically, we will be playing the features regularly, individually, as a group, or with the team that's actually making the feature, giving feedback, trying to harden it, and also at the same time evaluating where it's at. So there are several moments in time as we're going where there will be a point where we have to decide, is it ready or not? But there's no kind of like line in the sand necessarily where we go, this is definitely not going, or this is definitely going. So there'll be points in the process, like we had to do with cargo, where it's basically like, this is a core feature, it's not where we want it to be. At this moment in time, we want to push it a bit further out to make sure we've got the time available for it. But ultimately, kind of as I say, the process has changed for us in that, you know, there used to kind of be more one date, everyone's working towards that date. We are constantly trying to be on the ball with all of these individual features and knowing exactly where they're at and if we're happy with them.
Well, you know, for cargo, it was, you came to me on the day of ISC and was like, is it in 323.0 or is it in a .x? And I was like, I'm still deciding.
You want to air the laundry? You want to air the laundry? Okay. So the day that our cargo episode was supposed to air, did air, was the day of the go no go. So I had 2 versions of hosting. We often do, where it says, it's going to be in 323, and one is, it's still targeting 323, or one where it's not going to be in 323, it's going to be in 323X. And you might remember we were so good this season about getting all our episodes out at 8 a.m. Pacific on the dot, because we moved editorial over here. We've done a lot of structural improvements thanks to David and Tom over there, who've made things a lot better. We had a great streak going of every episode right there at 8, and then it's like, well, what version do we put out? And he's literally in there, surrounded by everybody, playing it. That whole story he's telling you, playing it, going through. And I'm just like pacing out behind.
Breathing on the window.
And then he was like, come on, which version? Just to see whether it gets the go or go no. And it was we still don't know yet. We're gonna give him another 2 weeks, and then we're gonna make the hard call.
Yes.
So it was like, all right, so we go with what we call the truth in the moment. And the truth in that moment is that it was still targeted for 323, so we go out.
And I wanted to give the team every opportunity to be able to get it into the game, but it needed to pass the certain level of quality bar to get in there. And ultimately, they didn't manage to do that. And that was a decision I had to make.
All right, we got 8 minutes. Let's see if we can't rapid fire some of these. Just a few more questions here. Rick,
Yeah.
is this even a thing? We've seen a hot take about bed logging not fitting the vision
this
of
is
what
a thing.
Star Citizen is going to be. Care to elaborate on what you're thinking about doing with bed logging and how logging in and out will look in the future? Is there a change to bed logging? Did I miss something?
I'm not sure what that hot take is, but we're definitely in favor of bed logging. In fact, in the future, we plan to give the player buffs for getting a good night's sleep in bed, and have that be part of the game loop. But we don't want to limit the player to that. It's like having a bed shouldn't be a requirement to log out of the game. In fact, in the future, we want no matter where you log out, that's where you log back in. You have all the same missions. Like we want your place in the universe to be persistent no matter where you log out. So that's where we're going.
So it'll be an option, but not a requirement.
Correct.
Okay. Rich, we're coming back to you. These are two big ones. What do you want first? Bad guys or solo players?
Let's do bad guys.
Okay.
You're a bad solo
Let's see.
player.
So currently, it is very hard to be a bad guy in Star Citizen. Basically, you get huge disadvantages having crime stat, and there's not really any place to go besides Grimhex. What's the future hold for the bad guys?
Well, Pyro is a good one. So, ultimately, I want bad guys. I don't think bad guys are always the bad guys. If you're a pirate, you might have moral motivations.
Corsairs.
But essentially, we want gameplay to be associated in areas that are lawful and unlawful. So obviously in Stanton there should be a greater risk and greater reward for you being able to pirate, but then you're going to run into the issues that the question alludes, that you get a crime stat, you're going to be hunted down, what's happening. So when we start to have Pyro and we start to develop those systems and we just start to develop the gameplay between multiple systems as well, we want Pyro to offer lots of opportunity for players to be able to role play as a pirate or a gang member, or they will have opportunity to work more in the shadows for like more of a organized crime. So for example, that you can then go into a lawful zone as an organized criminal and be able to perform more criminal activities, but from the shadows. So the expectation is that we want to create gameplay loops, and we've actually discussed those internally. They're planned out and have guilds that you can join that offer unlawful activities. And at the start, you might just be a thug with a ship, but by the end of it, you might be John Wick. So it's about having that progression within the game. And the other side of things is piracy or unlawful gameplay doesn't always have to be against lawful players. So that's something that in Stanton right now, if you want to go and be a pirate, you have to pirate the people who don't necessarily want to be pirated, right? And that always leads to a winner and a loser. And I think when you're looking at a game, and this has come up a lot in Star Citizen, are we a PvE game or a PvP game? From my perspective, we're both. And I want to create loops that support both. And that means on the PvP or the piracy side, where you want to become a pirate, I want to offer you to be able to pirate PvE and AI players, or should I say AI agents, and obviously players. But I also want to provide activities within Pyro that are beneficial, that force you against other pirates as well, so that you can have really cool, engaging PvP combat against people who want to have really cool, engaging PvP combat. And that means putting systems in place that you can find where that is, and bringing people to areas that they know it's going to happen. So there is definitely lots of plans for both bad guys and PvP, and lawful guys and lawful PvP. So I think the first aspect is that we need more than one system. That is.
Hey, no problem, Jim. I appreciate you stopping in, man. Thank you for that. It's been appreciated, man. Thank you. They're about done anyways here in about 8 minutes. So thanks for tuning in, Jim. Glad you could show up. Thank you. You have a good day, man. 07.
The advocacy or the UEE, we need to have systems where it's more appropriate.
And of course, we use the term bad guys colloquially. Shout out to the bad girls out there.
Yes. Guys, girls, and robots.
All right. 2 more questions here. The other big one for you. What place is there for a solo player in Star Citizen?
I think
I'll go
there's-
get a drink and leave Rich.
Yeah, yeah. I think there should be a lot. Obviously, if you want to be a solo player, just because we're a massively multiplayer online game shouldn't preclude you from playing solo. You know, I've played many MMOs where I've just played by myself and got through to the end game. There will obviously be certain prerequisites as you move towards the larger goals in the game that are going to make it difficult for you to achieve as a solo player. For example, if you wanted to try and earn an Idris in the game and earning reputation to be able to, you know, figure out how to be able to manufacture your own Idris, and then you need to go and gather all the resources to be able to do that, that is a very, very large initiative. Almost to the point where when you even have that Idris, you're going to need multiple people to fly it proficiently. So I think, you know, that doesn't mean that there is not going to be a large amount of content that is achievable by solo players, that they'll be able to have enjoyment and combat, for trading, to mining, to salvage, to all the other aspects of gameplay that we want to be. If you want to be a farmer, you can go and be a farmer, right? But the expectation is that, you know, we are a massive multiplayer online game. We will have a large amount of content that is available to solo players, but that does mean there will be some content that is easier to achieve with more than one player.
Much like real life. It's like there's lots of things you can do on your own, and some things you have to accept a little bit of help on.
Yeah, we're not putting hard limits on. You can always try and do it yourself.
Absolutely.
Like, you can get all the materials for an Idris. You can build it yourself. Like, if
And you know there will be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And in fact, in the future, we've talked about the possibility of being able to hire NPCs to help you fly your ship and stuff like that. I mean, that's probably far down the road, but it's something we want to do to enable that kind of gameplay. So.
Yeah, that's literally probably the oldest thing, going all the way back to the Wingman's Hangar days. So happy to hear that it's not completely gone.
It's in the roadmap.
Yep.
All right. Last question. This one also has a specific instruction for it. Make sure I get this right. Okay, hold on. Go ahead and follow me to JJ Tom. Hey, JJ. Why the F don't we have night vision? WTF, man.
Well,
Is that another WTF? Come on.
Night vision, yo. Night vision.
Okay. So night vision. So I've got some good news. I saw and was playing with night vision on weapon optics yesterday. So we have got it to a point where we can put them on the optic lenses using our new optic tech that came in with 323. This is not to say that this is coming out with 323, to be very clear, but it does mean that we can look to a fairly close release whenever we feel like we can get the content out to people, so people can actually start using these. And it works, you know, it exposes more light when you're on the dark side of a planet, so you can actually look around and see what you're trying to shoot. And it's a little bit more uncomfortable to look around in a well-lit environment, kind of as you'd expect. So that's the good news. The slightly less good news is that I know people are probably going to start asking, when can we get it on visors and ship cockpits and things like that? The answer there is we need to assign some more time to it. It's a bit more complex. The new optic system gave us a really good opportunity to play with some of those settings, but the visors and the cockpits aren't set up in the same way as those. So it's something that we're going to start looking into and finding where we can fit it in the roadmap, because we definitely do want to provide that for people, but we've got some design questions to answer first and some engineering to do as well. So
And
that will come a bit further down the line.
2 things to add to that. One is that we've broken the back of getting it working. So now it's more of just a content and scheduling problem rather than a technical problem, which is great, because it means, and it is really good, by the way.
Yeah, it looks great.
And the one thing is that it's not, I want to make sure that everyone's clear. It's not true night vision, it's light enhancement. So when you're looking at something, and even though it's on the dark side of the moon, you still get a very good, clear picture. You can still call things out, but it's not what you'd imagine as stereotypical night vision.
It's like upping the exposure on a camera.
Yeah.
With a
The difference between projecting a light, like an infrared light, and seeing the red infrared light versus just amplifying the light that's already there, like a starlight.
Yeah, so it will give you, for the player's perspective, it will give them what they want, they can see. and they'll be able to pick things out in the darkness. But I just want to clarify that's what we're working towards, because that's a more achievable solution for us. Still gives us what we want, and like JJ said, we do want to then propagate that to the visors.
So yes, you can send your letters of encouragement to JJ Johnny Lascivious, Manchester Goods Yard, and don't worry about the spelling on this one. Just tell them how much you want it. All right, that's it, gentlemen.
All right.
502, you survived. Rick, you survived your very first video of any kind for CIG, and it was an hour-long live show. How do you feel?
I feel great. This was fun.
Good.
I'll do it again.
Folks watching home, don't forget, check out yesterday's Inside Star Citizen. Detailed all the different features and content coming in the Alpha 323 season of patches, 3.3.0.1, point whatever. Check that out. Plus, I revealed the new Mirai Pulse, which is a very, very small little hover bike that seems like it can go anywhere a person can go, and I'm sure that's not going to cause any manner of trouble in 323. So check that out, and then come back next week. It's our Creature Feature 2 next week, I think, or might call it Paws and Claws. I don't know. I made the mistake.
Hold on, you didn't give us names.
Huh?
I've been watching your shows. You've been giving people names. What are our names?
Well, okay. Well, JJ's been owner of the coolest name in the whole company for years. Johnny Lascivious. It's a totally cyberpunk name. He was only slightly derailed when Cairo Goodbrand was around here.
What was Duncan? Arena Commander guy or something?
He was Commander guy at the Arena Man. He was Arena Man. Duncan
Arena
is
Man.
the Moist Master.
The Moist Master.
Yeah, Will.
Oh,
Okay, actually, I don't want a name.
I'm done here. Can I go
Yeah.
now?
I didn't think
I'm out.
I didn't think you knew what you were asking when you started the thing.
Yeah, I'm out.
But yeah, all right. So, and then we come on, and then next week, Star Citizen Live is off. I'll be traveling to Belgium for the wonderful annual Beacon convention there on Saturday. So if you're going to that, I'll see you there. So for Star Citizen Live, I'm Jared. That was Rich. That was Rick. That was JJ. It's David and Tom behind the keys. Pete on the headset. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week on ISC, everybody. Take care. Bye.
From what I remember, next week is supposed to be animals, so we'll see. Yeah. Let's see. Raid channel. Can't raid him. Hold on. Let me see. I'm gonna come back to this in a minute. Before I do anything else, I'm going to do a friend a favor who's having some issues in Star Citizen. Marcus Gwynn. I am going to subscribe to him very quickly on air and give him some support because he's had some issues with YouTube. I would advise all my users, if you know who Marcus is, he's a good guy. He's got like 4K followers on YouTube, and he could really use the help. Please subscribe to him too. Anyways, here we go. 3, 2, 1, and subscribe. Pay $1 and Founder's bad. Oh, I thought I'd get a tier 3. That's okay. Hang on just a sec, chat.
I'm surprised you 3 grams of Mary a day as well, and can't sell that because my wife's a cop. Damn. That must be a weird conversation. I could do something closer to home. For sure. Maybe I'll go to Vegas or something like that, but we'll see. We'll see what the summer has to offer.
Always happy to help out someone.
Just making sure there's no goddamn hurricanes out here. Hurricanes are dangerous, man.
Hold on. I don't think people can hear me. There we go. That's better. All right. Let's see. Run as administrator. Run. All right. There we go. Have some fun. Hopefully in the PTU. I hope. Let's see. There we go. Maybe for a little bit. Gonna have to get used to what the hey. Okay. He's dead. I think they are. Huh. Hold on. These old batteries are dead. Hold on just a second, chat. What's up? I've left them in the controller too. Try these. Oops. Okay. Hey. What the heck? Man? Huh. Okay. Contact points are all here or something. See, that was the case. There it is. Hey, there's some corrosion on it. That's what was going on. Mm-hmm. For those of you who haven't seen this yet, here we go. Love playing around with this. Handsome devil I could never be. I love that thing. Character Creator is so much nicer than it was so long ago. Yeah. Character Creator now is awesome and epic. Literally. Speak of the damn thing. All right. I wish they would brighten this screen a little bit, but that's okay. Can't have everything all at once. What armor do I have that I can use? Hmm. Ah. So let's toy around with this. Four leg backpack. Yeah, it's just taking some time to load in. That's what's going on. Let's go. You want? Just wait for these guys to leave. Come on, guys. What are you looking at, bro? Inspect. Buy hold. Yeah. Okay, I guess. Still a work in progress, probably. Probably. Personal weapons. FS C57 System G. Attachments. Okay. All right. Just in case I get into trouble while exploring a little bit. For a little bit. All right. Ammo. Weapons. C54. C54 Jimny. This. Do we have any doesn't look like it. Nope. Now I have ammunition just in case. Still offline. Barely made it. All right. Let's see if it stays in the course.
Nearing next stop.
I'm gonna pick a small ship just to go exploring. Oh, before I leave, let's see, map. zoom out to New Babbage. See if it's on the light side of the planet. Logistics depot. Cuban mining. Gray Cat Stanton. What I'm looking for. Darn it, the Kovalex area is on the other side of the planet. I'll have to wait for daylight. Hold on. What about Hurston? It's fine. The Kovalex area is on the rear side of the planet. Ghost Hollow's over here. Unless this is the night side of the planet. Yeah. Let's see. Is it daylight here or day or nighttime? Yeah. Slow day around here.
From the best in shopping, dining, and entertainment, be sure to visit New Babbage's renowned promenade.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
Welcome to the New Babbage Interstellar Spaceport.
Well, Terrapin, right?
For the latest updates on ship availability and gate assignments, please use one of the conveniently located terminals.
Vehicle select. Your vehicle has been delivered to
Air 2.
Please visit us again.
The Empire's leader in cutting-edge technology, where creative innovation
Buck? Who are you? And why are you in my hangar? Okay. That's kind of weird. Is he waiting on somebody? Closed door. Get out of here, dude. Is he a pilot? Okay. Okay, this is... What's going on here? Did it freeze? It froze. It motherfucking froze. It freaking froze. I think I'm stuck. Hey! Hey! F. Uh-oh. I think this thing maybe's having an issue, yeah. I think we're fixing to crash, guys. Yeah. This ain't good. He's not loading for some reason. Super weird. Okay, try to move. Yeah, it's not letting me move. Okay, there we go. Finally! Huh. Wow. That's crazy. Hold on. That was really weird. Wow, the shields on this charge quick. Is that the only shield face? Oops. Yeah, I think it is sunset where I am. Right. Yeah. So our distribution centers only on Microtech and Hurston. That's my question. Yeah. All right.
Takeoff complete. Thank you, and please visit again.
Who was that? Who was in the hangar? I don't know. Some dude just standing there like a lump on a rock. I don't know who he was, but he's just standing there. It was super weird. Yeah. Before I get too high. Flood a course. Yep. What do we got? Sun has just set at New Babbage. Just 60. Okay. Okay, what I'm trying to do is route. Man, this is different, learning how to do this. So can you land at the Sakura Sun area? I wonder if you can. Route. There we go. There. And I route. Let's find out. Shift into quantum. Disabled in atmosphere. Spooled 100%. There we go. So I'm beginning to figure this out bit by bit. The quantum travel, the acceleration, yeah. General star travel system, goldenrod. Can I enter this facility? I don't know if I can. Let's find out. So how do you scan now? That's an interesting thought. I don't know. Where are we? Pretty far away. We're on the cold side of the planet. Oops. Hold on, let's see how we can scan. I don't even know how to scan now. Kind of looks like there's some buildings out here.
I'm sorry. Due to inactivity, we have been forced to assign your landing zone to another customer.
Sorry. Huh. So, is this an illegal place, Tanner?
Please proceed to assigned landing bay.
Right. Well, it told me to proceed to landing bay. Down. There is someone here. 6 kilometers. I just hope I don't get jumped. Even if I do, this is toward the end of my stay, so yeah. Couple of ships at 4 and 6. Told me to head to the landing bay. Yeah. I don't think I'm hostile. Initially, let's see. Curious. Can I even land here?
Landing gear deployed.
Looks like it. Let's hope I don't get shot at. Oops. Someone bump into me? This is a smaller facility, it looks like. And land in the middle.
Have a pleasant stay.
Yeah, really.
Engines offline.
Let's have a look around. This is a different center than where I went last time. It says no weapons here. Don't let me open my door. Uh-oh. There it goes. There we go. Come on. There we go. Good enough. So they have a hospital and shit around here? Stuff around here? So where? This is awesome. I've never been in one of these distribution centers. The hangar here is huge. What did it say? I don't know. Right. Where's the elevator? Huh. Door's not opening. Okay. That's kind of odd. Elevator's not popping in. Yeah, I think this is busted. Probably. I wonder if there's a way to sneak in. Look around for maintenance. Here. I'm not seeing anything that don't mean jack. Nope. There's nothing here. Okay, this is weird. Am I breaking the law by being here? I think so. On chat. I will be... What's going on here? Uh-oh. Yeah, this patch, man. Yeah. That was just for fun. Funsies. But they still have a lot of work to do on this patch, I think. Sadly. Kind of looks like it. I have to take a break for a bit. I will be back. You guys have a good day. Later.